And good afternoon. I'm Tracy Sinclair with Alaska's News Source, and we just wanted to jump in and take a few minutes to talk about Earth Day, which is coming up on Monday. And the theme for 2024 is Planet versus Plastics. And it's really a call to advocate for the widespread awareness of the health risks of plastics and also to rapidly phase out the use of single-use plastics. Now, to help us understand ways that we can do that and hopefully do them in fairly simple ways, because I know a lot of us like to make our lives a little more simple, we are going to talk with Jennifer Gordon, who's one of the co-owners at Blue Market AK, and also Emma Shelton. She works over at Blue Market AK as well. And Jennifer and Emma, thank you so much for joining us here as we kind of just talk through some of these things that we can do. So my first question for you guys is, your store is pretty much dedicated to one of the purposes to eliminate single-use plastics. Why is this so important?
Well, the single-use plastics basically never disappear. Never, hundreds of years, thousands of years, it takes a little piece of plastic to decompose. And so any single-use plastics that we use, like for example, the top of a to-go coffee cup, it gets thrown in the garbage and forgotten by us, and then it breaks down, it becomes tiny little microplastics, it ends up in a landfill, it ends up in the ocean, it ends up in seafood, and it ends up in us and birds. And so it's just, it's a source of non-compostable garbage that I think we can get along without. There are other ways of packaging things, and so our goal is to try to show people different ways of purchasing, and so that it doesn't include single-use plastics. And I was a sailor, and I saw single-use plastics all over the ocean and the beach when I was sailing for years with my family, and that was part of the impetus for me to wake myself up to how much plastic there is in the world.
And when we're talking about single-use plastics, you mentioned the lid of a coffee cup. One of the other ones that I didn't even think about until I had been in your store was the bags to put vegetables in when I'm shopping. What are some other examples of what we might not think of as single-use plastics?
At Blue Market, we have like paper bags you can put your produce in, and then when you take it home, you can treat it a little, I don't know what the word is, like to give it more life, you can put it in water or cover it in a different type of like wet cloth, and that'll keep it moist and alive a little longer than putting it in a paper bag in your fridge. But yeah, plastic containers like that, or even like plastic spice jars that you buy at the store because they're a little cheaper, those just end up getting recycled, but not really recycled.
Yeah, the other kind of plastic bottles that are single use that are things like shampoo bottles. And those actually can be reused. And so one thing I'd like to make sure people understand in here is that we want you to bring your shampoo bottle that's empty and fill it up with shampoo here. And when you do that, never buy another shampoo bottle. That's the goal. So it's not to never use plastic, but it's to reuse the plastic that's reusable, and then to refill those reusable plastics. Other kinds are all of the plastics that are used for tooth care. So the little container that your floss comes in. We have versions that are either metal or glass little containers, and you can refill the floss over and over again. Toothbrushes themselves that are primarily plastic. We have toothbrushes here that are either metal or wooden. And so there are so many things. And then that toothbrush is wrapped in plastic in the store.
That's
and
what
so
I had,
like it's not just the product, it's what it's wrapped in as well.
Yeah, I had read, I think on the Earth Day site, that a toothbrush has like 4 different kinds of plastic just in the toothbrush. And it never occurred to me that you could get a toothbrush that wasn't made of plastic. So when I saw them, I was like, that is strange. Now, most of us are, you know, we want things to be simple in our lives, and let's face it, single-use plastics are very simple. What's an easy way for you, do you think, to kind of guide people into getting rid of some of those single-use plastics?
Yes.
Beeswax wrap, that's a good one. Like getting rid of the plastic wrap, or like silicone bowl covers instead of plastic wrap. I think plastic wrap's a big one that's a convenience in homes, but yeah, I don't know. Taking a walk through Blue Market is a really good way to like open your eyes to a lot of different options that you don't see at other grocery stores in general.
There are these bags that are called stasher bags. You'll see them kind of all over actually, and they are made out of silicone, which is made out of sand, but they feel and look and work like plastic. So it's a re-zippable bag that you can use over and over and over and over again. You can freeze things in it. You can cook things in it. You can store things in it, and they come in all different sizes. And so the idea of, instead of buying a big box of 50 Ziploc bags, you can purchase a few of these reusable Ziploc-y sort of bags, and then you don't have all that waste, all those plastic bags you end up throwing in the garbage.
When people come in and see your store and they see all the different items, what surprises people most about, oh, what do you mean I don't have to buy that in a jar or in a plastic bag and buy a new one every month? What do you think people are most surprised by when they come into your store?
I'd say laundry and dish soap. That's a big one. People go through a lot of it. And you can just refill that same jug up here, or get those little drop pods that come in a big plastic container. So I'd say that's the most popular, especially for like busy families, because it's an easy stop and you don't have to buy anything else, but you know at least that it's something you're making an effort at. And I think it works out well.
Yeah, I think another good example is you're showing photos of the dry foods. So those are like, we used to have that, right, in grocery stores, the bulk food refills, and people love, they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this again. And olive oil and cooking oils is also something people really love. They're like, wow, I can just refill my green olive oil bottle. Yeah, of course you can. Wow, that's so great. Maple syrup is another one, and honey. All these things that are, you know, there's no reason they can't go back into a jug you already have or a jar you already have. Spices is also a big one. People are really excited to be able to just refill their spices. It already has the right name on it and everything, and they just go fill it up. You know, what's interesting to me is that this whole convenience of plastics happened so fast, like since the 50s and 60s, you know, and before that, everything was done this way. This is actually relearning the way we used to do things. It's not so much, so I'm always surprised that we got so attached and addicted to this plastic wrap convenience so fast.
You're right, we absolutely did. It was very quick. And we do get a couple comments on our Facebook page. Mabel is asking, where is your location? So it's Blue Market AK. Can you give us the address?
Yeah, it's 1406 West 31st. We are in between Minnesota and Spenard. We're a few blocks south of Middleway Cafe. It's the same street where Pancho's Villa, which is a Mexican restaurant, and the N-Star building are. We're just at the other end of that. It used to be the French Oven Bakery Cafe, and now they're still here, but we are in the front part of it.
And so one of the things you and I talked about yesterday, because I did stop by the store so I could kind of videotape some of the products and ways that people can get rid of single-use plastics. And I think you mentioned it, we're not completely, you don't need to eliminate plastic completely from your life, because you also guys have some jugs. Some of the bigger products get to you in plastic jugs. What do you want people to do with the jugs that they already have or the containers that they already have?
Hmm. Um, so we get much of our products in 5-gallon buckets, especially the local products like Alpenglow Skincare, Hand, Face, and Body Wash. And we send those buckets back and forth to her. And then from there, we pour them into either a glass dispenser or sometimes we do use plastic gallon jugs. And we have reused those too. There are all kinds of uses for those plastic gallon jugs that we sometimes get, like maybe from a gallon jug of milk or something, and just you can cut off the top, and it can be a really good scoop for emptying out a boat. It's an excellent baler. We use those all the time.
I was going to say, so speaks the woman who does a lot of sailing. I use mine.
Yeah.
I use mine as planters. I've started ways to start my seeds. I've been using those. So.
Yes. We love wee jars and other little yogurt containers to use for planting. They can be really great. Just poke some holes in the bottom, and then But I'll say that with caution, because I worry that when we start to come up with all the different ways you can use things over and over again, we're still buying them then in the first place. And so, there's baby steps. The first thing is to bring a couple jugs, like your big laundry jug or your soap container or your shampoo bar or your olive oil, and just fill it up and see how it goes. Another really good trick is to stop using plastic bags in through produce. Just throw them in the cart loose. Let them roll around. It doesn't hurt your produce, and you're going to wash it at home anyway. And then build from there. We have a lot of customers who started shopping here with just one product that they felt comfortable trying something new with. And little by little, they add a new one. And some of them now are doing almost all their grocery shopping here, and they just go across the street when they want like a bag of potato chips or something, So it's a learning process, and we don't shame anyone. And yes, we have to use plastic jugs sometimes because that's the only way we can get things sometimes. We just try not to throw them away, and we try to find alternatives whenever we possibly can.
And one of the things on your website is when I was much younger, they started the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle. And that's expanded a bit on your website, starting with refuse. So that gets to the point of not getting the plastic in the first place, then reduce, reuse, and repurpose before you get to recycle.
Yeah, and I won't get political here, but recycling was a great concept at the beginning when people were like, what are we going to do with all this plastic? But it's not the answer to reducing the plastic. It's one answer, and we challenge you to make it your last option. And so, yes, you're right. Refuse to buy it in the first place. If you can't do that, then repurpose it, reuse it before you recycle it.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining me. Jennifer Gordon, who is one of the co-owners over at Blue Market AK, and Emma Shelton, also with Blue Market AK. Thank you guys so much for talking to us just a little bit about ways that we can reduce particularly single-use plastics, but in the end, eliminating a lot of plastics by, as you say, refusing them first, and then if we do get them, to keep reusing them over and over again. Earth Day is Monday. I hope this gives you a little tip of some ways that you might be able to just celebrate Earth Day a little bit and help reduce some plastics in our world. So thanks again to Jennifer and Emma at Blue Market AK for joining us here. You can join us tonight at 4, 5, 6, and 10 on Alaska's News Source.